their bathroom, which was the only part of their house that was left. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I want to tell you a story about our experience with a Category 3 hurricane while living in our first manufactured home. This was back in the 1990s, and we were really comfortable being in our home. We've never been the type to just be unrealistically afraid of anything. We'll find a way to get through it, and we're people of faith. We know that God got us. We know that God is going to protect us, and we pray our way through all types of things. And so this one time, and I think it was our first hurricane ever that we had that was up close and personal. And I can't remember exactly what year it was, but it was definitely in like the late 90s or something like that. And so we prepared, we gathered some things together. We made sure that we had canned goods. At that point, that was kind of all we did. We just made sure that we had canned goods on deck and that we had bottles of water. We were going to make sure that we could drink and we could eat, we could use the bathroom, and just do the basics of keeping ourselves clean during the hurricane. My husband already knew a lot more about hurricanes than I did because his father and his family survived Hurricane Andrew back in like the mid 1990s. So he knew firsthand, and I only got to see some pictures. Their home down south of Miami was one that took the brunt of Hurricane Andrew, and as you know, that was a Category 5 hurricane, and they were literally huddled in their bathroom, which was the only part of their house that was left standing. The homes that they have down in that area, they're the real old school stucco. Like they're real, and they still got demolished. So needless to say that hurricanes are nothing to play with. Hurricanes of any strength are nothing to play with. At this point, we've been through hurricanes. We would go to a relative's home when we were RV living, and we would just stay with them. Obviously, in RV living, on private land, we didn't have any tie downs. We didn't have any type of straps. It was just us against the elements. I was never staying. That was just not even in my mind at all to stay in the RV when the hurricane was coming through. My husband didn't think it was going to be so bad. He decided that he was going to stay and stay. You have to ask him how that worked out for him. He's still here. He's still alive. So I guess it worked out pretty fine without having any safety straps or anything like that to keep him in place. But the RV still stood. That was a pretty scary situation. So he'll have to tell you about that situation and his experience going through that. But anyway, back to the story. So we decided, we had everything prepped, and we were going to ride out the hurricane. Our parents were calling and asking, hey, are y'all leaving? Are y'all coming up here? And we were like, nah, it's just gonna be a Category 3. It's not gonna be a 4 or a 5. So we're just going to stay, and we're going to ride out the storm. They didn't like that at all. They did not agree with us staying, but we decided that we were going to stay anyway. And we did. In that neighborhood, we had underground utilities. So we never lost power at all. I don't know if that happens on a regular with underground utilities, but we never even lost power throughout the entire hurricane. But when the winds started to blow, I had never in my life heard anything that sounded like the winds blowing that intensely. I grew up in the country of Georgia. I didn't know nothing about hurricanes. Yeah, we had heavy rains from time to time, and in Florida, yeah, we have heavy rains probably on a regular basis, and we also have higher winds on a regular basis just because we live on the coast. When the winds started to blow that intensely, I started to think, oh my God, what did we get ourselves into? We went throughout the night, and the hurricane was passing through, And I just swore all of the trees were going to be down outside around us. Being that it was dark, we couldn't see anything, but I just wanted daylight to happen so that I would be able to see what had happened outside, see if there was any damage to our home or any such thing. And so when daylight finally came, the wind was still blowing pretty intensely, and so we still could not go outside, but we were just looking out the windows and we were trying to see if we could see anything. Stuff had blown around the yard, and you know, there were limbs down and all types of stuff, but we were fine. We never felt it. We heard the intensity of the rain, we heard the intensity of the winds, but we never felt anything. We never, like, our home didn't move. There was none of that. Just very intense rain, and there was very intense wind. And another thing I could remember thinking was, thank God we didn't have any tornadoes that were coming through. Tornadoes scare me way more than hurricanes scare me. At that point though, I realized that I would probably never do that again, even with a Category 3 hurricane. If it's even projected to be a Category 3 hurricane, when it hits our area, I'm out. I'm out. There's no two ways about it. Every time after that, I would grab the kids, I packed the kids up, and we were headed up to Georgia, so that all we would get up there was some wind and, you know, maybe some rain from the bands, but it was not going to be anything like staying and hearing the way that it really gets intense with the rain and the winds. I just didn't want to do it because mentally it would bother me more than it bothered me physically. It wouldn't bother me at all physically, but mentally, just hearing the intensity of the wind especially. And not to mention when the lightning starts and the thunder starts, and then they start being right on top of each other, meaning that it's very, very close to where you're located. The lightning storms that will happen, they are scarier than all of it combined. So later on in the day, it was still daylight. The hurricane had pretty much passed our area. But when we finally got to go outside to see what type of damage that we had, if we had to report anything to insurance, all of that type of stuff, we went out and we looked all around the house, and yes, we had limbs down, we had, you know, branches and that type of stuff, but nothing had hit the roof of the house. The only thing that happened, we had a panel of our siding to slide out of place, and it didn't even come all the way off. It just slid out of place. And so my husband was able to repair that, and we kept on living. I can remember another time when we were in our last home and there was a hurricane coming. Before the hurricane even started, our power went out, and we were trying to figure out what in the world, why would our power go out, and nothing's happened yet. That was the spookiest thing ever. It was way more spooky. That was probably a Category 3 hurricane as well, but what happened was it was only projected to be a Category 1 hurricane, and then it started to hit the Gulf waters, and we were living in Tallahassee at this time. It started to hit those Gulf waters, the warmth and the cold collision, or whatever the weathermen say that happened. Hurricane strengthened as it approached the Tallahassee area, and so we had a pretty nice hurricane. Then at that point, when the power went out, we were all just kind of like, whoa. If you've ever heard anybody say it's the calm before the storm, that is what we felt. That is what we felt like, and we were like, oh no, we waited too late to leave. We'll be fine. Listen, if we survived in the manufactured home, and people say that we're not supposed to survive the manufactured home when hurricanes come through, even though they survive all the time, even though we're surrounded by them and they're still standing, we'll survive here as well. We left after a couple of days because the kids got pretty uncomfortable, and we just thought, let's go ahead and take them to see the grandparents, and then from that point we can decide when we're coming back, since the offices are closed down. Nothing is happening because you have power out everywhere. People didn't have water, they didn't have food. Before we left, we went ahead and cooked up the food, and so we were just surviving off of our canned foods and snacks and such. We did not have a generator at that time, and no one had one that we could buy because we waited too late. And so after that third day, we just went ahead and went to Georgia to just get comfortable for a few more days. And we stayed up there maybe 3 days or so. And so by the time we got back home, we still had no power, but things were much more calm. They had opened up all the roadways and pushed everything. They were still working on restoring electricity to our area, but you better believe we hightailed it to get a generator after that storm, because we were like, we will not get caught again. We will not get caught. And I actually did a video on how to operate the generator. That was one of the storms, and another one, the power was out for roughly 2 weeks. And so typically what we do is, if it's going to be anything above a category 2 hurricane, we get out. We just leave, just because we just want to be comfortable as much as possible. We leave, we go to family's house, and that gives us an opportunity to hang out with our family, to just enjoy time with them, and then we'll come back and we'll do the cleanup or whatever we have to do after that. And right now we have about 4 generators on hand, and so we don't concern ourselves so much with trying to stay and trying to survive. And very, very blessed. And you know, we pray and cover ourselves, and we cover our children, and we pray for our home to be safe. And especially if we are in that bad boy, we are just always praying to ask God to cover us no matter what happens around us, no matter what we go through. So no, we're not afraid of living in a manufactured home. They're made with 2x4 walls, just like our other house was made with, just like the one before that was made with. So we don't concern ourselves so much with fear in our lives. I feel like some people really just look for anything to be afraid of. But when you have a relationship with Most High God, like, you don't have to even concern yourself with so much fear in your life, because whatever is supposed to happen to you is going to happen to you. But God always makes a way where you can survive and you can have peace when there's chaos all around you. Develop a prayer life, have a relationship with God, and all of that fear stuff, you don't have to worry about that stuff so much. Just prep and pray and keep it moving. Enjoy your life, enjoy your family, enjoy your home, no matter what your home is, whether it's used, whether it's new, whether it's on top of the ground, whether it's top of cement, it doesn't matter. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your family to the absolute most that you can, and put your faith over fear. That way you don't have to concern yourself with what you're living in. You'll just be grateful for everything that you have, knowing that there's somebody out there who is so much worse off than you. So thank you for watching. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next video.